Dr. K, I've been reading so much about what you say about post-traumatic parenting, but I'm confused. Am I a post-traumatic parent? I mean, there's some things that I went through in my life that weren't great, but does that mean I'm traumatized? I'm just not sure. Can you help me understand? Hi, I'm Dr. Robin Koslowitz, YouTube's post-traumatic parenting expert. Today we're going to talk about the fundamental question, am I or am I not a post-traumatic parent? But first, if you've ever wondered about how your trauma is impacting your parenting, if you've ever wondered if your PTSD, if your flashbacks, or even much lower level traumas like a difficult relationship with your family of origin, like some entanglements, like ex-spouses or difficult relationships you've left, if that's going to impact your parenting, click subscribe below so you never miss another episode, because that's exactly what we talk about, and we also talk about what to do about it. So this is a really interesting question, right? Whether or not somebody qualifies to be a post-traumatic parent. So I want to take you through a little bit of a thought experiment. First thing I want you to do is I want you to close your eyes. Yeah, really, close your eyes. And I want you to imagine the worst experience you ever went through, whether that's in your childhood, your adolescence, or more recently in your adulthood. Just imagine that experience, not just the experience, but the emotional valence of the experience, everything that came with the experience. For example, if you were in a car crash, maybe it's like that moment of fear as you realize, oh no, it's about to happen, I'm about to be hit, right? Maybe it's the disorientation when you wake up in the hospital and you're not sure if everybody's okay. Maybe it's a few weeks later when you're wading through mountains of insurance paperwork and you're really stressed out about how this is going to impact your, ability to get insurance in the future, your finances, etc. Right? The emotional valence around it. When you were a little kid and you were being bullied, or when you were a little kid and your family didn't have enough to eat, when your parents got divorced, whatever it was, not just the experience itself, but the emotions around the experience, the things you attach to the experience. So now that you're imagining that, I want you to substitute your child's face on your body. Did your eyes just pop open? Was there a part of you that was just, no, I won't go there. My child is not going to go through this. This is absolutely must not be. This is intolerable. This should not happen. Did your eyes pop open because you weren't with me in visualizing it? Congratulations. You officially are a post-traumatic parent. You officially experienced a trauma that was bad enough that says, yup, you're a post-traumatic parent. Don't gaslight yourself into doubting your experience of your own experience. You have that moment in your life where it was too overwhelming. The experience was too big for your brain to metabolize. And you would never want someone you cared about to go through that, especially your child. You just pinpointed a traumatic experience. That's it. Right now, that's not to say that that was your most traumatic experience. There are many people who will imagine a trauma, and there were other traumas that maybe on paper are worse. In the post-traumatic parenting book, I talk about someone who lost her parent. She lost her mom to cancer when she was in 5th grade. And her friends didn't know how to treat her. They just didn't know how to handle it. And they were uncomfortable. And they just weren't sure. What do you say? What do you not say? So when people are uncomfortable, they kind of close the tab in their brain by just saying nothing. So they started ignoring her. It was almost, as she said, 5th grade, her felt that cancer is contagious. Like, they think I'm contagious, I'm contaminated. They need to stay away from me because they'll lose a parent too. So everybody socially excluded her. And that became outright bullying as she got older. Now, on paper, the loss of her mother to cancer is the bigger trauma, right? It's the thing that everybody says, oh yeah, this is traumatic. But honestly, the loss of her friends, the social exclusion, the way it made her doubt herself, the way she lost out on the opportunity to develop social skills, which we develop through trial and error in our friendship groups, that was more traumatic in some ways. So we don't actually have to sit there and sort of categorize our traumas and sort of like on some like dictionary definition in the DSM-5, these traumas are bad enough. If there's a traumatic experience that you went through, and when you imagine your child going through that experience, your eyes pop open, that's it. You are officially a post-traumatic parent. Sometimes it's not a traumatic experience. Sometimes it's what I call a traumatic theme. A traumatic theme is when you struggle with the same thing, whether it's in your personality, whether it's in your environment, whether it's in your life. It's the same theme that comes up over and over and over again for you. For example, someone who is constantly struggling with feelings of shyness and constantly would like to get out there more, would like to talk to people more, would like to make friends, but there's this real fear, this real temperament factor of being cautious and slow to warm up that she was never helped with, and shyness keeps coming up. There are all sorts of situations where she didn't assert herself or he didn't assert himself, right? And it happens and it happens and it happens, and it's a theme and it's a pattern. And it's like, if only this one thing could be deleted from my personality, from my life. For some people, that's certain aspects of neurodiversity, like struggling with time management, like ADHD. For them, I'm not saying this is a problem for everyone. I'm saying for that particular person struggling with this, I'm always late chronically, and I'm always getting into trouble for that. And this causes problems in my life in so many ways because I dissociate and then I lose track of time or whatever the reason is, right? And that's a theme, and it's a constant theme. Someone who's had a lot of early loss and then they keep losing, right? So they lose a parent, and maybe then they lose a sibling, and then they lose another family member, and then, they make friends with someone and they're really good friends, and that friendship's a source of stability, and then the friend dies, right? Where loss just keeps coming up in this person's life, and it's a theme that they keep struggling with. And again, you put your child's face on your body struggling with this theme, and your eyes pop open, okay, that's a trauma. It's not one discrete trauma, but it's many, many layers of traumatic experience that you just would not want your child to deal with. And finally, if there's something that you had every right to expect growing up, food, shelter, a safe environment where people aren't arguing and yelling and fighting all the time, parents who are encouraging and loving and not extremely critical, parents who have some time and attention for you and are not extremely self-involved or very preoccupied with another sibling. So for example, if you're the glass child because there's a very ill sibling and your needs are kind of barely met, but no one ever has emotional bandwidth for you, right? And it's not about what happened to you, it's what didn't happen for you. And you imagine your child feeling that valence of no one sees me, no one gets it, no one cares, and your eyes pop open, you're a post-traumatic parent. And this is a very common thing that happens with trauma, and it has to do with the trauma app that our brain develops to help us learn to cope with trauma. So the trauma app is a set of if-then rules that our brain, just generates, where it's like, if someone's mad at me, I will people please, right? If I feel like I'm in danger, I will lash out and be the biggest bully in the room because no one's ever going to victimize me again. If I feel a sense of threat or a sense of stress or even the hint that there might be, I leave. Whatever it is, the trauma app comes up with an operating principle to keep you alive, to keep you surviving. The problem is, of course, the trauma app has nothing to say about thriving, and parenting is all about thriving. So what tends to happen is the trauma app sort of tells you what to do, but the trauma app operates exactly like malware, right? You know how malware will disguise itself as an icon on your computer that looks like a legit icon? So let's say you get an email that's supposedly from Zoom about your account, and you do indeed use Zoom for work, and you do have a Zoom account, and it's like a link to reset your password on Zoom because there's been a password breach and Zoom would like you to reset your password. You look at that email and you're like, oh yeah, okay, Zoom is telling me to reset my password. You click the link. What happens? Boom, malware and whatever, ransomware, whatever happens to your computer, right? The trauma app does the same thing. It's malware that disguises itself as something you want, as a program you'd like to download, as an innocuous link, like click here for the escape hatch from the stress. Click here, all will be solved. Click here, it'll be fine. So the trauma app gives you that click here. So exactly like malware, the trauma app disguises itself, right? And the trauma app tells you this is beneficial. This is actually the voice of you. You want to do this. So it's very common for post-traumatic parenting community members or patients in therapy to say like, yeah, these really bad things happened to me, but I'm not traumatized. I'm fine. I handled it great. I'm good. I mean, I was a straight A student. I literally had that happen to me in my trauma journey. And it was the beginning of me really studying post-traumatic parenting, which was when I was in college. I went to the college counseling center because of my flashbacks, and they actually treated me with a very early form of EMDR. And at one point I asked the counselor, like many trauma survivors do, like the person who asked me this question did, so am I traumatized? Do I have PTSD? You know, like it says in, I think back there we were on the DSM-3, like, you know, DSM-3R, I don't remember what we were on, but like, do I have PTSD? And the college counselor who was providing a treatment for PTSD, known as EMDR, said to me, no, you're doing great in life. I was, newly married at the time, working full-time as a special ed teacher and finishing up my bachelor's degree, applying to grad schools, commuting, having a lot of success. And she said, like, no, people with PTSD are just not as functional as you are. And it's so funny because actually there's a lot of hyper-functional people with PTSD, and being functional and having PTSD are not antithetical to one another. Most post-traumatic parents I talk to are pretty functional when it comes to like parenting and like getting the kids to soccer practice, or like, ordering milk and making sure that everybody like is reasonably fed and clean and cared for and they go to the dentist. Most post-traumatic parents are functional, and yet we have trauma. It's so normal for trauma to hide itself. So even for me, I was doubting my own PTSD when I was in therapy for flashbacks. I definitely had PTSD, and yet this is what the trauma app does. Like all malware, it disguises itself as something innocuous, and for trauma, it disguises itself as the voice of the self. It says, no, I'm you. I know how to handle when I'm stressed out, I people please. So when my kids are asking for, candy before dinner, and I don't want to give them candy right now. I made a delicious dinner. I want to give their taste buds a, fighting chance against big food. There's delicious roasted chicken and potatoes waiting for them. So no, I would like them to eat dinner first, and then we can talk about treats, as any normative parenting interaction is. But then they start to whine, and the trauma app goes like, oh no, somebody is mad. I need to people please. That's not very good, because that's not parenting. Now, sometimes I'm going to be very responsive to my kids' feedback. I can think of a couple of times where my kids have asked me something. Actually, recently, my 7-year-old daughter, I had bought ice cream, and we were having breakfast for dinner, and she wanted her ice cream before her eggs. And she said to me, Mom, can I have ice cream before eggs? And I said, no, reflexively, because parents do that. Like, no, you're supposed to have dessert after dinner. And she said, okay, but why not? And I was like, actually, I have absolutely no good reason. Like, I know she likes the eggs. I know she likes omelets. Like, this is one of her favorite suppers. So I know that she will eat it. And I know that, so it's not like the eggs are going to go to waste, where it's like, oh, I just scrambled eggs and now they're going to waste, or, she's not going to get in enough protein. She's a healthy, well-nourished kid. I have no concerns about her. There's no picky eating concerns about her. There's no reason to say no. So I was like, actually, sure, why not? And like, I gave her a scoop of strawberry ice cream and her omelet, and she was actually eating them. She was experimenting with like a bite of strawberry ice cream, a bite of eggs. And she's like, yum, the flavors combine so well. They taste so good together. Yeah, why not, right? So yes, sometimes we undo a no with our children, which I think in the 80s we wouldn't do, because the parent, you can't say no. Once you say no, you have to stick to it, because then you're going to show children, you're going to teach children to whine. Please. There's nothing wrong with being like, upon mature reflection, on second thought, sure, you can have it, right? But not because I'm people pleasing. Not because, oh no, my daughter's crying, she's whining, she's upset with me. I can't have people upset with me, so therefore I must say yes, right? If I'm doing that, I'm not parenting. My trauma app is parenting my child. I'm not parenting my child. So I want to make sure that it's not my trauma that parents my kid. It's me that parents my kid, right? So when you ask yourself, am I a post-traumatic parent? Usually it's because your trauma app is malware that's disguising and hiding itself, and it doesn't want you to see it for what it is because it's really scared that you'll deselect its permissions, right? Like those people who send that fake email from Zoom, they don't want you to look at the fact that the email is originating in like Azerbaijan or, or somewhere that Zoom's headquarters are in. They don't want you to notice that they're spelling Zoom with three O's, right? Or whatever, right? They don't want you to notice that because then you won't click on the link. Your trauma app doesn't want you to notice it because then it can keep operating because it really thinks it's malware, but it's well-intentioned malware. It thinks it's helping you. It doesn't trust you to handle your problems. So by saying to your trauma app, actually, I've got this. I know how to parent my own kid. So I'm going to deselect that permission. My child can whine and be upset, and I can feel for them, and also not people please, and also say no. So yeah, if you've been through an experience that you don't want to imagine your child going through, congratulations, you're a post-traumatic parent. If it's a theme, if it's a trauma of absence, you're a post-traumatic parent. Now the question is, what do you want to do about it? Can you find your trauma app, figure out what its permissions are, and start to mindfully deselect its permissions? Because then you get to take all the psychological resources, the battery power that it consumes, and use them in service of your own values, in parenting in the way that you want to, not in the way that the trauma app wants you to. If you like this, if this was helpful, please click subscribe below so you never miss another episode. Please comment and let me know what you think. Honestly, the post-traumatic parenting community has grown, and the questions I answer on YouTube have come from people just like you who are watching the channel and had a question. And that's why we have topics, everything from, themes of trauma in Wicked, to are sticker charts abusive, to should I use baby talk with my children? Because everybody has questions about post-traumatic parenting. That's what trauma does. It makes parenting harder. So it's our job to mindfully figure out how to grab our psychological resources back from the trauma app and parent in accordance with our values. So please click subscribe below. Please like, share, send this episode to somebody who you think can benefit, because our community has grown one person at a time. And also, if you like this content, if you want to interact more directly with me, check out the Instagram, Post-Traumatic Parenting on Instagram. You can find it at Dr. Koslowitz Psychology. You can also find the Post-Traumatic Parenting podcast available wherever you get your podcasts. I blog on Psychology Today at Targeted Parenting, so check that out. There's a recent blog post that's about, do my kids trigger me and what should I do about it? Check that out if you're interested more in this topic. But please comment below and let me know what topics you'd like to hear about next. Till next time.